Okay, picture this. You've got a historian. He's totally lost in his work, deep in some dusty library basement, right? Surrounded by old books, microfilm, the usual.
Yeah, the smell of musty paper and old concrete.
Exactly. And he's actually dreaming about being in wartime Germany, about finding something huge, something maybe dangerous, when bam, his phone rings.
And it just yanks him right out of that historical world and into, well, into a real-world mystery. A real nightmare, actually.
Yeah, because it's his old mentor's wife on the line, frantic. The mentor, this big shot professor, he's been arrested. FBI.
Accused of stealing old files.
Oh.
But the mentor, he swears they were planted on him.
So that's the setup for our deep dive today. We're following this historian, Nat, as he gets pulled into the tangled story of his mentor, Gordon Wolfe.
It's not just about some misplaced documents, is it? It spirals into this incredibly complex web involving historical secrets, actual wartime espionage, personal betrayals.
And the fallout from decisions made decades ago during the war, it all gets kicked off by this unexpected discovery, or supposed discovery, of a motherlode of old file.
Right, and these aren't just like random notes. Gordon Wolfe himself, the mentor, he apparently called them, secrets you can't find anywhere else.
He said, not a dud among them, live ammunition, pick it up and it might go off in your hands, boom.
Wow. So high stakes from the start.
Totally. So our mission today really is to try and unpack all these layers. We're going to dig into some surprising facts, some connections that honestly might make you rethink how history works and the real human cost involved.
Absolutely. Let's jump in.
Okay, so let's set the scene properly. We've got Nat. He's described as the sole survivor of the European research collection, kind of camped out in the darkness of Carroll C-19 in the Hartzell Library basement.
Right. He knows the place by smell. The musty leather bindings, chilled concrete, the chemical reek of schooled microfilm. It paints a picture, doesn't it?
It really does. And he's just woken up from that dream we mentioned about a similar place in Germany during the war. A place where he felt close to some huge discovery, but also, terrified of being buried in rubble.
It's interesting how the dream itself kind of foreshadows the whole thing, doesn't it? This sense of getting closer to something important, but also incredibly dangerous. And it hints at how consuming this work is for him.
Yeah, he's clearly poured everything into it, maybe at the expense of, well, everything else.
And then the phone rings. It's Viv, Gordon's wife.
Yeah.
She's described as being in a state of hysteria.
Understandably. She tells Nat that FBI agents just showed up and arrested Gordon. She says they handcuffed him the moment we walked in the door. You'd have thought he was John Dillinger.
Just like that. And the charge is stealing old files. But Gordon and Viv insist they were planted.
So right away, you've got conflicting stories. Arrested like a gangster, but claiming it's a setup.
And these files, Viv calls them Gordon's motherlode. A trove of wartime gleanings from an American OSS station in Bern, Switzerland.
The OSS, so the Office of Strategic Services. America's wartime intelligence agency, basically the precursor to the CIA.
Exactly. And Bern, Switzerland, was this crucial listening post in neutral territory during World War II, famously run by Alan Dulles, who, later became a very powerful CIA director.
So these aren't just any files, they're from a key intelligence hub run by a major figure. No wonder Gordon boasted about them. That quote again, live ammunition, pick it up and it might go off in your hands, boom.
Sets the stakes incredibly high. This isn't just academic stuff. It sounds dangerous.
It really does. But what makes this even messier for Nat is his history with Gordon. It's complicated.
Very. Gordon was the one who got him hooked on history in the first place. Infected him with a virulent strain of historical curiosity, as the source puts it, his mentor.
But then things went south. Gordon wrote this absolutely scathing review of Nat's second book, The Gentleman Underground, called it faulty logic, thin research. Ouch.
Yeah, and accused him of writing pop history. Basically just trashed it.
And that review apparently just devastated Nat. It smothered the air in the cradle, cost him his zeal, his confidence, everything.
It's a classic academic betrayal story almost. Mentor turns on protege. But Viv says Gordon still thought of Nat like a son, despite all that.
So you can imagine Nat's head spinning, right? Hearing his estranged mentor has been arrested, accused of something serious, files Gordon himself hyped up, and now he's being pulled back in.
Absolutely. The emotional turmoil must be immense, and then things get even stranger.
Right, because then Nat gets another call, this time from the FBI. Special Agent Neil Ford, a buzz-cut rookie.
And somehow Ford knows exactly where Nat is hiding out in the library basement. Turns out Nat's daughter Karen gave them his location.
Which adds another layer of family drama, maybe. Anyway, Ford passes him to his supervisor, a guy named Holland.
And Holland basically demands Nat's help, says they need his expert consultation on Gordon's files.
He frames it as voluntary, but it sounds pretty urgent. They want him up at Gordon's summer place, Blue Kettle Lake, like, no.
And they're dangling money. Holland tells Nat, think big, it's the government's tab.
Why? Because Nat is Gordon's protege. That makes him top of our list to help figure out these supposedly stolen files.
Okay, so wait. The FBI arrests Gordon dramatically, claims he stole files, but then they immediately want his protege, the guy Gordon professionally destroyed, to come help them understand the files, and they're offering big money.
Yeah, it smells fishy, doesn't it? If they're just old papers, like some local cop apparently called them, why the urgency? Why the blank check?
It really suggests the FBI knows these files are way more important, maybe more dangerous than they're letting on. Or maybe they have another agenda entirely.
Exactly. And then, tragically, Gordon dies. Officially, it's a heart attack, but the timing. Well, the text mentions local suspicions.
Convenient timing, perhaps. After his death, Viv gives Nat a box that Gordon had specifically left for him.
Yeah, like a final message from beyond the grave. And inside this box is just this weird collection of stuff.
Like clues in a spy novel.
Totally. There's a Nazi officer's cap. Okay, a bottle of secret ink powder with instructions, a matchbook from the Hotel Jurgens in Bern, Switzerland, and a key card for a U-Store M self-storage place in Baltimore.
It feels like Gordon deliberately left him a trail, doesn't it? Like encoded knowledge, a gift from one historian to another, as Nat thinks.
So Nat follows the trail. The storage unit key leads him to Baltimore. And he's not alone now. He's with this German historian who's suddenly appeared, Berta. We'll get back to her.
Okay, so Baltimore, he must have been hoping for the mother lode, right? The missing files.
You'd think so, but his great hopes died with the swipe of a card, the turn of a key, and the opening of an iron door.
Oh no. What was inside?
Almost nothing. Just one small thing. A book. A 1937 Swiss murder mystery novel.
A novel. That's it. After all that buildup.
Yep. Inside the book, someone wrote the name Sabine Keller, and there's a crushed yellow blossom bent stem pressed on page 186. But no boxes, no files.
Wow. Talk about a dead end. Or maybe another clue. Sabine Keller. The flower.
Maybe. But then comes a twist. The storage unit manager shows Nat the surveillance video from Gordon's last visit.
Ah, okay. What does it show?
It shows Gordon picking up a new swipe card. But crucially, he leaves the storage unit empty-handed.
Empty-handed. So he didn't take any boxes out of there recently.
Exactly. Which strongly suggests the boxes of files found back at his house, the ones he was arrested for stealing,
were planted there, just like Viv and Gordon claimed.
Right. So the frame-up looks real. Someone wanted it to look like Gordon stole files from that unit, maybe files they put in his house themselves.
Okay, that changes everything again. Who would frame Gordon and why? What's really in those planted files? And who has the real files if Gordon didn't take them from storage?
So many questions. And this is where Berta comes more into focus. Let's rewind a bit. How does she even show up?
She approaches Nat shortly after the arrest news breaks. She's introduced as a professor doctor from the Free University of Berlin. Very intense, striking appearance, German accent.
And her reason for being there.
She tells Nat a friend at the National Archives tipped her off about Gordon's arrest and that the FBI needed an expert. She claims this area of research is her life's work.
But Nat senses something off.
Yeah, he finds her complicated, especially when she asks him point blank why Gordon Wolfe used to call her a damned nuisance.
Ooh, okay, so she knew Gordon, or knew of him, and apparently he wasn't exactly a fan. She definitely has her own angle here.
Absolutely. She's not just a random historian showing up. She's clearly got a stake in this somehow.
Okay, so the Baltimore trip was a bust in terms of finding files, but huge in confirming the frame-up. Now, Nat, presumably, has to figure out what these files are really about. Where does he start digging?
Well, one name that seems central is Kurt Bauer. Nat starts researching him, and the Bauer name is basically synonymous with this German industrial dynasty. Think a junior version of the Krupps.
The Krupps, the huge German steel and arms manufacturers deeply involved with the Nazis.
Exactly. So the Bauers made weapons for, quote, emperors and despots the world over. A long history there.
But they're still around.
Oh, yeah. On the surface, their modern company makes normal stuff. Coffee makers, televisions, and aircraft components. Looks respectable.
There's always a but in this story.
But underneath, they apparently have this arcane line of products. Things like jet nozzles for South Africa's suspected nuclear program, back in the day. Presses, furnaces, special tubing sold to Libya, Israel, Iraq. Heavy water potentially going to North Korea and Pakistan.
Whoa. So, nuclear proliferation stuff. That's serious.
Extremely serious. The source even links them directly to A.Q. Khan, the father of Pakistan's A-bomb program. That's why the FBI is interested. Not just history, but ongoing, dangerous, high-level arms dealing.
Okay, so Bauer isn't just some historical footnote related to Gordon. He's a major player in potentially dangerous modern dealings. That reframes the FBI's interest, maybe.
Definitely. It suggests the old files might connect Bauer's past to his present activities the FBI wants to know about, or maybe even leverage.
Right. So Nat's digging into Bauer. What else does he find? He goes to the actual OSS archives in Bern, doesn't he?
Yes. And there he finds a memo from Alan Dulles himself, referring to Gordon Wolfe as Icarus.
Icarus, like the guy from Greek myth who flew too close to the sun.
Exactly. Dulles wrote that Gordon literally fell to us from the sky. Intriguing nickname. Suggests brilliance, maybe recklessness, ambition.
And he also finds more about Sabine Keller, right? The name from the book in the storage unit.
Yes. He learns Gordon had this post-war obsession with her. She was apparently a pretty waitress in a place called Edelboden, and Gordon had been sending her money, quarterly payments, disguised as an OSS pension.
An OSS pension? Why would Gordon be sending pension payments to a waitress? That sounds like hush money.
Or support.
Or maybe compensation for something. It's another puzzle piece. But the biggest discovery comes next. Nat finds a Swiss bank safety deposit box.
How?
It's linked to a pseudonym Gordon used, Gordon Bernhard. And inside that box, he finds the Magneto to Sextet dossier.
Magneto II, that sounds like a code name. It is. And this dossier turns out to be something called Operation Fleece. And it's a field report, written by Gordon Wolfe himself during the war.
Gordon's own report, what does it say? This has to be huge.
It is. It details Gordon infiltrating Germany in 1945, near the end of the war, with Sabine Keller. They're disguised, her as a soldier.
Sabine Keller went with him on a mission into Nazi Germany, the waitress.
Apparently so. The report says Gordon was arrested by the Gestapo in Munich, interrogated for 6 days, but he maintained his cover story.
6 days with the Gestapo.
Tense.
Understatement. But here's the absolute core of it, the bombshell. During that interrogation, a Gestapo agent named Martin Gullner tells Gordon something crucial.
Okay.
Gullner reveals that his source, codename Magneto II, is the person who, 2 years earlier, exposed a student resistance group in Berlin, something like the White Rose group, you know, the famous Koltel sibling.
Yeah, incredibly brave students who were executed by the Nazis. Exactly. And Gullner tells Gordon that Magneto II betrayed this group in exchange for personal considerations for Magneto II's family. And this betrayal led directly to the execution of 3 members of the resistance group.
Wait, and who is Magneto II?
Kurt Bauer, identified by his father Reinhardt's codename, Magneto. So Kurt Bauer, the arms dealer's son, betrayed resistance fighters to the Gestapo to protect his own family.
Oh my God, that's the Bauer bombshell Gordon hinted at, betraying heroes like the White Rose members.
Yes, a devastating act of collaboration and betrayal hidden for decades. And Gordon learned this directly from the Gestapo during his own interrogation.
You can see why Gordon might have been obsessed with Bauer after learning that, but the report, does it say more about the mission itself with Sabine?
It does. It gets very personal and quite dark. It graphically described how Gordon got shot in the leg during an ambush on that mission. That's where his war wound, his limp, came from.
Okay, and Sabine.
The report doesn't spell it out explicitly, but the implication is unavoidable and horrifying. It strongly suggests that during that same mission, Sabine Keller was raped by SS soldiers.
Oh, no.
And that this assault resulted in her becoming pregnant with Gordon's child.
Gordon's child.
Yeah.
Conceived after that horror.
The timing implies it. And Gordon's own thoughts, recorded in the report, reveal this deep, burning desire for vengeance against Bauer, likely fueled by both Bauer's betrayal of the resistance and what happened to Sabine on the mission. Bauer's actions might have indirectly compromised.
This adds such a heavy, tragic layer to everything. Gordon's lifelong focus on Bauer wasn't just academic or even just about the resistance betrayal. It was deeply, painfully personal. The wound, Sabine's trauma, the child.
Exactly. It recasts his entire life's work almost. It's about justice, revenge, maybe atonement, all tangled together.
Wow. Okay, so that explains Gordon's motivations, perhaps. But what about Berta Heinkel, the German historian? Gordon called her a damn nuisance. Why?
Well, Nat starts digging into Berta, too, prompted by her intensity in that comment. He manages to access her Stasi file in Berlin.
The Stasi. East German secret police. Their files are notoriously detailed and chilling.
And Berta's file reveals something shocking. As a child, she was an informant. She reported on her own family, the Heinkels, and also on a family friend, Hell Hartz.
A child informant on her own family. That's awful.
It gets worse. Nat pieces it together. L. Hartz is Liesl Folkerts, and H. Heinkel, mentioned in the file, is Hannelore Nierendorf, Berta's grandmother.
Her grandmother. What happened?
Both Liesl and Hannelore were apparently imprisoned in Plötzensee prison, where the Nazis executed many resistance members. But they somehow survived, escaped during a bombing raid. Liesl's death was even faked in the records.
Okay, so they survived the Nazis, but the Stasi file.
The file shows that years later, after Berta had informed the Stasi that her grandmother Hannelore intended to publicly denounce Kurt Bauer, Hannelore was killed, fatally struck by motor lorry.
Hit by a truck. After Berta informed on her plan to denounce Bauer, that sounds deliberate, an assassination disguised as an accident.
It certainly looks that way. And the implication is that Berta, as a child informant, unknowingly set her own grandmother up to be killed by forces likely protecting Bauer, even years later.
Oh, that's unbearable. So Berta's obsessive behavior, her ruthless quest, it's not just academic, it's driven by this immense burden of shame, grief, and a burning desire for vengeance and atonement for her grandmother.
Exactly. She's hunting the man she believes is responsible for her grandmother's death, a death she feels responsible for causing, even indirectly. And there's another twist. It seems Bauer somehow found out about Berta's Stasi past and leaked it or threatened to ruin her reputation, probably as counter-blackmail against Gordon or Berta herself.
The layers of manipulation just keep piling up. Everyone seems to be using everyone else's secrets against them.
It's incredibly dark. Nat also tries to track down Martin Goellner, the Gestapo interrogator from Gordon's report.
The one who told Gordon about Bauer betraying the resistance?
That's him. He's living under a new name, Hans Mannheim. Nat finds him, and Goellner, though reluctant, starts selling Nat bits of the story, confirming he dealt with Icarus Gordon and mentioning a transcript of their talks.
A transcript, that could be crucial. But does Goellner survive talking to Nat, given the pattern here?
Sadly, no. Shortly after, Goellner dies. Falls from a window. Officially an accident or suicide, but Agent Holland later casually admits to Nat the Germans caved on Goellner.
Meaning German intelligence or someone connected silenced him because he was talking.
That's the strong implication, another loose end tied up violently.
This is getting incredibly dangerous for Nat. And there's one more historical connection, isn't there? Erich Stuckert.
Yes, Kurt Bauer's old-school friend. His father was Wilhelm Stuckert, a high-ranking Nazi lawyer who co-wrote the infamous Nuremberg Laws and was at the Wannsee Conference.
The conference that planned the Holocaust. So Erich Stuckert comes from a deeply implicated Nazi family.
Right, and Nat discovers that Erich faked his own death after the war, with help from West German intelligence. He's been living under a new identity, Schmidt, and served as a valuable Cold War intelligence source, still connected to Kurt Bauer.
So another figure with a hidden past, protected by intelligence agencies, linked to Bauer. The web just keeps expanding.
It really does. It seems Bauer has connections everywhere, past and present, that people want kept quiet.
Okay, so with all these pieces falling into place, Bauer's Nazi-era betrayal, his modern arms dealing, Gordon's personal vendetta, Berta's tragic quest, the suspicious deaths, the intelligence agency connections, what does the FBI really want from that? What's Holland's endgame?
Holland finally lays it out. He tells Nat the FBI's primary interest isn't history, it's Bauer's current activities. Bauer is, in Holland's words, a man whose little black book could help someone build the world's next nuclear weapon.
So it is about the nuclear proliferation connections. They don't want to expose or arrest Bauer necessarily.
No, quite the opposite. They're keeping him happy because they want his cooperation. They want access to his network, his knowledge about who's building what, where.
And the recent deaths, Turner, the PI who was looking into things, Goellner, the Gestapo guy.
Holland basically admits they've made accommodations. Essentially, they're looking the other way, maybe even facilitating a cover-up to protect Bauer as an asset. National security, current threats, trumping past crimes, or even present-day murders.
Wow, that's cynical, but maybe understandable from their perspective. But it puts Nat in a terrible position. He has information that could expose Bauer, which the FBI doesn't want exposed.
Exactly. And suddenly, Nat realizes the danger isn't just theoretical, it's hitting close to home. His daughter, Karen, starts getting hang-up calls, someone with a foreign accent. Then her home is broken into by men looking for Nat's papers.
Oh no, they're coming after him through his family.
And when Nat confronts Holland about this, Holland confirms the FBI protection detail they supposedly had on Karen. They had just canceled it.
Canceled it. Why?
The implication is chilling. Maybe the FBI doesn't want Nat protected anymore. Maybe his information, the truth he's uncovering, is now more valuable or dangerous to them if it gets out. He's become a liability, not an asset.
So Nat is truly on his own and in danger. This is terrifying. He needs to resolve this somehow. What about Sabine Keller? Does he find her?
Yes, he finally tracks her down. She's now Sabine Jurgens, and she confirms the story. Her relationship with Gordon, the horrific rape by the SS soldiers during that wartime mission.
And the child, Bernhard.
She confirms Bernhard is Gordon's son, conceived in the aftermath of that trauma. It's a heavy confirmation of Gordon's report.
And the money, the OSS pension Gordon was sending her.
Sabine confirms she received quarterly payments from Gordon for years, and the amount matches the figure Holland mentioned the FBI knew about earlier.
So that confirms it. Gordon was blackmailing Bauer, but not for himself.
Exactly. He was forcing Bauer to pay compensation, essentially, to Sabine for what she endured, and maybe to support their son. Bauer had no choice but to keep playing along, suggesting Gordon had serious leverage, likely the Magneto II betrayal information.
It adds another dimension to Gordon, doesn't it? Using his historical knowledge, his secret, not just for revenge, but for a form of twisted long-term justice or care for Sabine and Bernhard?
It's incredibly complex, morally, but deeply human. Atonement through blackmail, maybe?
Meanwhile, what happens with Berta? The confrontation over her Stasi file must have been brutal.
It was. After Nat reveals what he knows about her past, her informing her grandmother's death, she slaps him and runs off.
Just runs.
She leaves him a short note, says, "Sorry, it was such a disappointment. Best of luck. Regards, Berta."
Wow, that's incredibly sad. A tragic end to her part in this story.
Nat understands then that her whole intense quest was driven by this immense guilt and love for her grandmother, this need for vengeance against Bauer that ultimately consumed her, another casualty of these secrets.
So Berta's out. Gullner's dead. The FBI wants Bauer happy. Nat is in danger. It seems like Bauer might just get away with everything.
It looks that way. But Nat now has the full picture. He knows about the White Rose betrayal, the arms dealing, Sabine's story, Berta's tragedy, the FBI's complicity. He decides he can't let it go.
What does he do?
He arranges one final meeting, a confrontation with Kurt Bauer himself.
Just him and Bauer? That sounds risky.
He doesn't go alone. He brings someone with him. Liesl Folkerts, the woman who survived Plötzensee with Berta's grandmother, the other person Berta informed on as a child, a living witness to that era.
Bringing the past right to Bauer's doorstep. What happens at the meeting?
Bauer apparently is arrogant, dismissive. He denies everything, threatens Nat, even boasts, "I will ruin you just as I ruined her, Berta."
He admits ruining Berta. Chilling.
But Nat doesn't back down. He launches a full frontal assault, laying out the entire truth. He's uncovered the Magneto II betrayal, the consequences, everything. He confronts Bauer with his history.
And how does it end? Does Bauer confess? Is he arrested?
The source doesn't explicitly state Bauer's immediate fate after that confrontation. But the story shifts to Nat. Later, he's back at his university.
Back to teaching after all that.
Yes. And he's teaching a new class. The topic: the after effects on post-war Germany, told through the life story of resistor-turned-collaborator Kurt Bauer.
Wow. So he's using his knowledge telling the story, finally, making Bauer's hidden history public, at least in his classroom.
Exactly. And his daughter, Karen, is sitting in the class still carrying her Emily Dickinson book. Nat realizes that his whole journey through Gordon's labyrinth, through all this danger and betrayal, has ultimately made him responsible for understanding and teaching these complex, messy legacies.
So, wrapping this up, we went from a historian pulled into a mystery about stolen files, all the way through wartime secrets, betrayals, murder, nuclear proliferation fears, and deep personal trauma spanning generations.
It really shows how interconnected everything is, doesn't it? How grand historical events and secret intelligence operations are ultimately built on and drastically affect individual human lives, loves, and losses.
And Gordon's final gift to Nat, it wasn't just the clues in that box. It was the weight of this knowledge, the burden, and maybe the power of uncovering these hidden, dangerous truths.
Yeah, that line about the past is such a curious creature really resonates. And the idea of forbidden knowledge, Gordon's live ammunition, being both luscious, compelling, and incredibly dangerous. It can go off in your hands.
It certainly seems like it nearly did for Nat, and did for others, like Berta and Gullner. It makes you think, doesn't it? This deep dive shows us history isn't just dates in a book. It's buried, it's manipulated, it's fiercely personal, and often fiercely protected.
So the question for you listening might be, what does it really mean to be well-informed when the truth can be this complicated, this deliberately hidden? And maybe more importantly, how do we, or should we, balance that pursuit of truth against the very real costs and dangers it can unleash, both for those seeking it and those trying to keep it buried?
A heavy thought to end on. Something to definitely chew on until our next deep dive.